Elite Facts presents
The dumbest lawsuits in recent history. We live in a pretty strange world, don't we? It's a world that's full of scam artists and crybabies longing for any stupid excuse to not take responsibility for their own mistakes, issues, or minor shortcomings. It seems that people can sue at the drop of a hat and for any reason lately. So we decided to ask ourselves, what are the dumbest lawsuits of all time? From spilled coffee to a Michael Jordan lookalike, here are 15 of the dumbest lawsuits from recent history.
15.
A couple got sued because of the emojis they used in a text. An Israeli couple had to pay over $2,000 for a living accommodation that they rented. Now, why did they have to pay that much? Well, the answer is because of an emoji. The couple contacted a landowner they found online regarding the living accommodations he had available. Throughout their text conversations, the couple used various emoticons and alternative emojis of a champagne bottle and a peace sign. As a result of this, the owner thought the couple was sincerely interested and took his property off the market. Except they weren't sincerely interested, and once they backed out, he took them to court for the month's rent he had lost by taking the property off the market. The judge at the trial said, quote, "Although this message didn't represent a binding contract between the parties, this message naturally led to the plaintiff's nice reliance on the defendant's want to rent his living accommodations." Aw, sad face emoji, followed by an eye roll emoji.
14.
Woman sues Starbucks for using too much ice. A Chicago coffee lover got upset that her iced coffee that she had purchased from Starbucks was watered down because of the melting ice when she was halfway through it. So what did she do about it? Well, maybe file a complaint or speak to a manager about her dissatisfaction? Well, no. Instead, she decided to sue the Starbucks Corporation over it. The court documents brought on behalf of Stacy Gregory Goodwin Pincus state, quote, "Plaintiff alleges that Starbucks has engaged within the observe of misrepresenting the quantity of cold drink a client can receive. As results of this observe, Starbucks cold drinks contain considerably less product than publicized. Designedly and company observes said procedure." To put it simply, this is ridiculous. If you're getting an iced coffee, you should expect there to be ice in it, and you shouldn't expect the ice to not melt if you let it sit there long enough.
13.
Beer Guzzler sues Foster's for convincing him their beer was Australian. New York resident Leif Lord Nelson is still currently suing Foster's for deceiving him. Apparently, all of their ads that include kangaroos and people talking with heavy Australian accents misled him to believe that his beloved lager was being brewed in the land down under. Unfortunately, this is far from the truth, as Foster's is, in fact, brewed in Worth, Texas, and has been since 2011. Lord Nelson says that he'll resume drinking his favorite lager after they properly label the cans and stop incorrectly advertising their beverage as being Australian. Good day, mate.
12.
Hellmann's owner sues competition for using the word mayo. According to Unilever, that's Hellmann's parent company, federal regulators specifically outline dressing as a selection that contains eggs. That is why they are not happy that a rival is attempting to pass off an egg-free version because of the legitimacy. Hampton Creek's Just Mayo uses plant product rather than chicken eggs, and Unilever says that Just Mayo is unquestionably a non-mayo product that is just dressing. According to them, Hampton Creek is taking part in false advertising and stealing the market from other mayo production companies like Hellmann's. Quote, "Consumers associate in nursing cooks have an expectation that dressing ought to each style and perform like dressing. Simply dressing will neither," as stated in the criticism. Hampton Creek business executive Raleigh Tetrick does not think that labeling their product as mayo is a big deal. He says, quote, "Today it's dressing, tomorrow it's a cookie, next year it'll be food. Maybe we'll see the huge cookie and large food lawsuits against a North American country next."
11.
Man sues British Airways for sending him to Grenada, not Grenada. In 2014, Yankee medical practitioner Edward Gamson planned a trip to the southern town of Granada in the Kingdom of Spain. He was particularly excited about the trip due to his long-standing interest in Muslim art, as well as the fact that he himself is of Spanish heritage. Well, imagine his surprise when he stepped off the plane after a 9-hour flight only to find himself in the Caribbean. When British Airways refused to reimburse Gamson and his partner for the $4,500 first-class tickets, he decided that the best way to deal with the issue was to sue the airline for $34,000 in damages. Well, at least there's a bright side to the whole situation. He still got to visit the Caribbean.
10,
McDonald's mentally scars a man with napkin thriftiness. A California resident recently had an unacceptable visit to a Pacoima, California McDonald's. Why was it unacceptable? You probably think it had something to do with the food, right? Nope, he was unhappy with the napkins. Back in 2014, the California filmmaker said that when he was reaching for an additional napkin to go with his food, the manager on duty mumbled something that the filmmaker took as racial discrimination. He claimed in a letter to the location's owner that the incident left him, quote, unable to figure due to the undue painfulness and also the intentional infliction of emotional distress caused by the manager. The price tag Mr. Webster assigned to his emotional and mental distress was $1.5 million.
9,
Man sues dry cleaners for $67 million for losing his pants. One day back in 2005, a Washington, D.C. resident by the name of Roy Pearson Jr. decided to take his pants to a local dry cleaners known as Custom Cleaners. Unfortunately for him, the Satisfaction Guaranteed sign in their store was a load of crap. Pearson allegedly left a pair of gray pants with them that was distinguishable by a unique trio of belt loops on both sides of the front waistband. After a delay due to the pants being mistakenly sent to another dry cleaners, the pants were offered back several days after May 5, 2005, which was the initial pickup date. Pearson refused to accept the pants, claiming they were not his, despite confirmation by the cleaner's records, tags, and Pearson's receipt. Apparently, this served as enough reason to sue the business for $67 million for losing his pants, aka the most overpriced pants in the history of pants. Later on, he was gracious enough to drop the case down to only $54 million.
8,
Woman sues Google Maps for bad directions. Technology has replaced all wisdom and brain function. The specifics of this story involve Lauren Rosenberg attempting to run from 96 Daly Street in Park City, Utah to 1710 Mine Worker Avenue in Park City, Utah. Instead of looking up directions before she left, she relied on Google Maps on her BlackBerry phone. Once she got there, she found that the road itself had no pedestrian pathway or sidewalks. But Rosenberg continued following directions and commenced running right down a significant major highway with lots of high-speeding cars. Once she got hit by one, she sued Google for leading her there. She demanded $100,000, claiming that the directions provided were unreasonable and unsafe, despite the actual fact that the road was clearly unfit for pedestrians and was clearly marked by Google as a significant road. Rosenberg apparently never saw the aspect road she might have used, nor did she listen to the warnings posted by Google regarding the security and dependability of its directions with each map search. To be fair, the warning apparently never shows up in cell phones or once giving directions.
7,
Woman sues Halloween Horror Nights because it was, quote, too scary. A woman sued Universal Studios for causing her emotional distress. The distress in question happened once Cleanthy Peters and her grandchild exited a ride and a worker with a chainsaw jumped out of the dark and chased them out of the ride. They swore that Leatherface was actually chasing them. Screaming, they ran out of the ride and out into the park where they slipped on a wet patch. Instead of feeling glad that they were out of there, the girl sued the park for $15,000. Unfortunately for her, she didn't win the lawsuit. Well, why didn't she win? Well, as it turns out, this was during the time of year where the park hosts its annual Halloween Horror Nights, and they just so happened to run into one of the characters that was part of that tradition.
6,
Man sues Anheuser-Busch for showing hot women becoming attracted to normal guys. In 1991, a person named Richard Overton sued Anheuser-Busch, makers of beers like Budweiser and Bud Light, for falsely advertising their products. His example came in the form of the Bud Light commercials in which normal-looking guys are with stunning-looking girls. His concern for the general public looks to be pretty evident as, clause by clause, he accuses the manufacturer of lying to society so as to induce them to shop for their product and promoting the brew as critical for social interaction between the sexes. And on the lawsuit's last page, it claims that the advertisements caused poor Overton emotional and physical distress, thus making the case look more personal than it really was. The demand for compensation was in the amount of $250 for each day that Anheuser-Busch continued to air these ads.
5.
Man sues park for not labeling bathrooms well enough. Back in 1995, while attending a Billy Joel concert at the Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, Robert Glazer left his seat to alleviate himself in the bathroom. But unbeknownst to him, the bathroom at the stadium was androgynous. Once he got there, he found a stunning sight: a lady employing a plumbing fixture to pee. This traumatized Donald Glazer and turned his urine from a small stream to a fire hose. Sorry for that imagery, but that's how the story goes. He went around the entire building searching for an area to pee in peace, but was unsuccessful in his efforts. This emotional distress and embarrassment that he suffered were later used as complaints within the suit he filed against the stadium for $5.4 million. As you might have guessed, he lost the lawsuit.
4.
Man sues Michael Jordan because he looks like him. Who doesn't want to look like Michael Jordan? Seriously. Well, apparently this guy doesn't. In 2006, Alan Heckard of Portland, Oregon was so sick of people mistaking him for the legendary basketball player that he actually sued Michael Jordan for $416 million on the grounds that his resemblance to the Space Jam star caused emotional pain and suffering, defamation, and permanent injury. On top of that, he also sued Nike for the same amount, faulting them for making Jordan a celebrity. Heckard, who is about 6 inches shorter than Jordan, stated that he could not attend religious services, ride public transportation, play sports in public parks, or eat at a restaurant without getting mistaken for the former Chicago Bulls guard. Maybe Heckard's shaved head, earring, and Air Jordan sneakers had something to do with that. Heckard said, quote, "I'm constantly being accused of looking like Michael, and it makes it very uncomfortable for me. Even when I go to the gym, I'm being accused of playing ball like him." Oh yeah, sure, we can see how this must be emotionally scarring for him. Thankfully, Heckard eventually came to his senses and dropped the lawsuit.
3.
A man sued himself. Just when you thought you've heard the dumbest thing ever, you get slapped in the face with something even more ridiculous, like this story. In 1995, Robert Brock, a Virginia state prisoner, decided he wanted to be moved from prison to a mental institution. He claimed that the crime he committed was against his own morals and that he had violated his own civil liberties. Although he sued himself for $5 million, he also said the state should pay since he didn't have any income.
2.
Jackass sues Jackass. A man who lawfully modified his name to Jackass in 1997, yeah, someone actually did that, sued Viacom, MTV's parent company, as a result of the show they produced known as Jackass. Mr. S was seeking $10 million, quote, "for injury to a name I actually have engineered and defamation of character I actually have created." Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Luckily, the justice system had common sense, unlike Mr. S, and ruled in favor of Viacom.
1.
Sued McDonald's because her coffee was too hot. In 1992, a 72-year-old woman from Albuquerque, New Mexico, accidentally spilled her McDonald's coffee into her lap. After filing a lawsuit against McDonald's, she ended up winning the case and pocketed nearly $3 million, claiming that they should have put a warning sign on the cup. Because, people don't have the common sense to know that hot coffee is, hot.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.